So Art Online Fractured Daydream's second DLC, The Devil's Comeback, has arrived and was surprisingly much more fun than I expected it to be. I just shared my impressions of the first DLC and honestly, I did not expect to have much of a difference in terms of my enjoyment. Did not expect many changes from what they established in that one, so let's dive in. DLC 2, The Devil's Comeback or The Demon King, depending on where you look at in the game. I have no idea why we have such a branding issue yet again after the first one was corrected shortly after my report. Focuses on Pitohui and M from SAO Art Online Alternative Gun Gale Online spin-off series. Well, that is very exciting for many. I know there's a significant portion who do not care due to the difference in tone between the two series, and to each their own of course, but the story completely pivots away from the find the anomaly to revive Neish story the Stray DLC established and properly focuses on the characters this time around, not just on Pito and M, who are the DLC characters, but also the other two members of Team LPFM, Len and Fukajiro, with Shinon and Kirito joining in as well, who are our entry points to this adventure as the GGO players. Our task remains relatively simple, similar to DLC 1. Instead of find the anomaly, it is there's a PK squad going around in Galaxia, find the PK squad, but thanks to Pitohui's antics, it's really not a focus here. So while the narrative structure is roughly the same as DLC 1, it's find the thing, while the thing takes a backseat in favor of dialogue that has nothing to do with the thing because it's not interesting anyways. Unlike Stray, Pitohui's personality has the gravity to significantly derail literally everything and create these funny moments or circumstances for the cast. Well, the only outstanding moment in the Stray DLC in my opinion was Stray's unwavering approach towards Quinella. That one scene, I found myself chuckling quite often in this Pitohui DLC, and I call it the Pitohui DLC because, as is typical from AGGO, M's personality is a neutral element. He is the Pito simp after all. Ranging from Pito acting as if she didn't know Len and Fuka just to have a battle with them, to Len and Fuka constantly having these very cartoon-esque talk to themselves to plan against Pito's craziness moments, with increasing stress levels going as far as just popping into the screen yelling without a plan just to cut off a dangerous combo. It was really nice to go through.
PK するとまずいんだっけ？
ああ、それについてなんだけど、今は。
どうしたの？いや、ほら、そこのあれのそれ。キリト、続きは？今はなんだって？
ああ、そうだな。だから今はシステムの。レン、どうした？
Admittedly, not much of a story happening, as I previously mentioned, similar to Stray. It's a just enjoy your time with these characters kind of DLC, but with the characters actually providing endless comedy content this time around. And yeah, I made a big deal about not really going deep into Stray's character back in DLC 1 with her past or personality. I believe DLC 2 hit a really good spot on this front as well. There are plenty of great coverage of the characters' personalities in the DLC so that people who are not familiar with the characters can get to know them in a limited amount of time, as well as good references for those who know these characters from before, like how Pitohui and Shinon have interacted before, as was vaguely hinted at by AGGO. And no, there was no reason for Kirito and Pitohui to recognize each other from the SAO beta, as both of them were using beta avatars back then that are completely different from their current avatars, so please stop asking for it, at least for now. Although I agree getting an SAO beta participation reference from Pito would have been nice, remember that outside of the game information is quite a taboo in SAO, and people don't even casually mention these stuff, so it was understandable and fitting the established rules of the series. Maybe in future appearances, as Kirito and Pito get to know each other, we may get such scenes, and you know, maybe there is something in the log cabin dialogue. They are They're getting increasingly hard to unlock, especially for DLCs as more characters are getting involved, so I don't know at the moment. If there is an interesting home dialogue, please do let me know. In terms of presentation, while we do not have any actual cutscenes yet again, the slapstick comedy nature of the AGGO cast gave them a lot more opportunities, for them to try new things with the in-engine visual novel format, which was definitely appreciated. Some nice camera actions, neat camera choices, and more active character movements or placement added a good flavor to the presentation, if you ask me, although I don't expect this creativity to continue with future DLCs. If you didn't hear, the DLC 3 and DLC 4 characters were announced, a linked video on the top right. They do not quite lend themselves into such wacky choices that AGGO characters do. So I'm still in favor of having 2 short actual in-engine cutscenes, animated cutscenes for these DLCs. One for the introduction of the characters of the DLC, and one for the climax of the DLCs against the final boss. That's it from the story side though. Looking at the dungeon and the boss, we already knew the free addition to the co-op quests. The Poisoned Lab would be the dungeon for this DLC. In terms of recolors go, I think this is absolutely great. It is the GGO dungeon, yes, but with a lot of animated effects work to make it very distinct and beautiful. And to be frank, I don't want to call it a recolor too much, because a lot of its rooms are actually unique as well. To describe it fairly, it feels like a brand new dungeon that only reuses the GGO wall textures, because in context this is a GGO copy, that are mostly hidden behind intriguing effects and decoration. It feels more than fresh enough for sure, unlike Season 1 recolors. As for the boss, having the Fatal Sight as the DLC dungeon boss rather than the actual boss of the dungeon we were in, the Ghost Pet recolor, it was a great choice. Honestly, the Fatal Sight is just a challenging boss in general, and it will give you a run for your money, even in the story mode. But this is also a great indication for the future. One of my wishes after DLC 1 was that we'd get at least one original boss per DLC, which would be implemented somewhere into the multiplayer game with each season, providing fresh content injection, and this basically indicates that is kind of the plan. One DLC so far that did this is of course not a reliable trend, but I am hopeful for the future. Now, the characters. The reason I did not post my DLC 1 review instantly was because I wanted to have enough playtime with Straya to share my opinions, especially because characters would be undeniably underwhelming due to not having their power upgrades at low character rank, giving a false impression of them. But posting an impressions video for a DLC almost 3 months late, it's not the greatest idea, I figured, so I decided to mainly focus on their builds here and not talk about their power in general. Keep in mind that in the footage, I am using level 1 non-element weapons for both Pitohui and M, so even though I'm in the easy free roam area, my attack is significantly underpowered against this shooting phage and the dorsal that will come after for M. Starting with Pito, she plays very similarly to Len, run and gun with slightly less run and a little bit more gun, or rather, she is literally a combination between Len and Kirito. Her basic attacks can change between a rapid-fire assault rifle and a slow-firing shotgun, so use them as you find appropriate. I always find autos to be more satisfying since fatal bullet times, but one-tapping regular enemies with a shotgun, it never gets old, or rather, it wouldn't get old if I wasn't here with level 1 weapons. Anyways, with the natural comparison being Len here due to the overall gameplay style and vibes, I'd say Pito is a bit more wild, as in her abilities can hit numerous enemies in her path, allowing her a bit more AoE compared to Len often being locked into a single target. Pito has a shotgun barrage ability that deals fire damage, an assault rifle barrage that deals weapon damage, and a fall-on sword frenzy that deals weapon damage. It's visually and lore-wise great that all 3 of her abilities are different weapons, but practically they all kinda sorta function the same, dealing a good amount of damage in a cone in front of her to all enemies with a decent combo count, especially if you are hitting multiple enemies with those combos. In fact, it's probably a good idea to slap Kirito's passive onto her for additional damage on high combo counts, get an extend combo time on her accessory as well, and I feel she'll be golden here. Her ultimate is one you'll recognize from AGGO Season 2, a dual-wield photon sword attack. Her awakening ability grants her HP recovery, damage reduction, and reload speed. As I said, a combination between Len and Kirito here. Her passive, I feel, will be incredibly beneficial, especially for EX raids. So I recommend getting her to level 30 as quickly as possible. It's a free revive on down. So if you get a free revive mod as well during the battle, you can basically have 5 lives instead of the usual 3. As for M, now he's the real standout character if you ask me. He's a sniper obviously, but unlike Shinon and Deathgun, he has an auto sniper, so he can shoot in quick succession. And with his alternate weapon, he is the only ranger character, the only gun character in fact, who can guard with a pistol and shield combo, actually allowing him some survivability if stuck in a horde. His abilities are technically similar to Shinon's, 2 of them at least. One mighty shot, which is an exploding shot. The chain grenades is your close quarters escape / panic ability, but the mini bomb bullet is what makes M truly special. This ability reloads your current weapon, so yes, unlike other skills, it actually works with both the sniper and the handgun, turning whichever one you have currently equipped into an infinite range death machine. Honestly, this allows you to cheese plenty of bosses, especially in free roam, as even with the handgun you can stay far away from bosses' range of attack and can continue to chip away at it. Or in the case of the current EX boss, SPT Trommel 2, you can keep shooting at it even when it retreats all the way back. Pretty helpful considering how challenging it is to have limited DPS opportunities otherwise, you know, waiting for it to slam the arena or just stand very close to it. His awakening ability, which in the case of ranger units is just a unique special, is the same as Shinon's. However, M plants his massive turtle shield in front of him for additional damage mitigation. And his ultimate is pretty neat as well. M locks up his sniper and starts targeting everything in your screen, waiting for your command to shoot. Make sure you activate it a bit farther away than I did in this visual if you're fighting against bosses though, as it also locks up to all the individual parts of the boss, allowing you to deal huge amounts of damage rather than a single damage tick. If you stand too close, like I'm doing here, your camera won't be able to pick up on multiple parts. They need to be in your vision. I'll definitely say this was a good step up from the first DLC already, and I'm looking forward to next season's Moonlit Night Fragment DLC with Filia and Sachi. Tap the icon on the top right. Or at least I imagine it'll be next season. So far, both DLC 1 and DLC 2 have arrived in the 3rd week of a given season, so that's the baseline I'm sticking to with my assumptions. Also, I stand by my previous suggestion, rewarding players a single SAO ticket for the shop, you know, for S-ranking all the missions in a given DLC. It would be very much appreciated. Maybe it's the Turkish lira continuing to drown and making the numbers look much bigger than it really is to me specifically. But $15 per DLC, $30 per pass for what's essentially a character pack with some story attached and a couple weapon skins. I'll be honest, getting 2 new characters and a higher octane story this time around helped for sure compared to the perceived value of the Stray DLC, but even so, a single SAO ticket per 3-month-long season can't hurt, but it will be a good gesture towards players if you ask me. Either way, solid DLC here with an actually energetic story. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Stay cool.